In 2009, Platinum Games and Nude Maker co-developed and produced an ambitious space opera JRPG for the Nintendo DS called Infinite Space. The game was published by Sega as the third game in part of a 4-game publishing contract between Sega and Platinum Games. Atsushi Inaba at Platinum Games produced the game. Hifumi Kono directed the game, inspired by the works of Arthur C. Clarke, Greg Egan, and Yoshiyuki Tomino, the creator of Gundam. The game also features spaceships designed by a large team including the legendary mechanical designer Kazutaka Miyatake, who designed spaceships for animes like Macross, among many others. Before the game was released, Sega commissioned Gonzo and Production I.G to create a 4-part anime short film to promote the game in Japan, and this anime can still be watched in dubbed English on YouTube through Platinum Games' official channel. I've linked directly to the videos in the description section below. Grasshopper Manufacture's sound team composed the game's soundtrack and included people like Masafumi Takada, who also worked on the soundtracks to No More Heroes and Danganronpa. Inaba decided the game would be a DS title because Sega's budget for the title was restricted for a console game, but large for a DS game. Not wanting to compromise on the game's content, along with the added benefit of smaller commercial risk, it was decided to put it on the DS and push the hardware to its limits. As for Hifumi Kono, he had been wanting to create a science fiction epic since his teens. After 10 years, and his relationship with Inaba formed from working on Steel Battalion, he was finally getting his chance. The game features story scenes told largely with 2D images and 3D exploration. Ship battle sequences take place in real time, largely using a system where dodge beats barrage, normal attacks beat dodge, and barrage overwhelms normal attacks. There are some other special options of situational usefulness as well. Ship distance also plays an important role in combat as weapons have different ranges. Melee battles have a similar rock, paper, scissors feel to them. Some battles are scripted according to the story while others are random. Crewmates with their own stats can be hired, and ships have their own features as well. While the overall story itself doesn't change much according to dialogue options, there are several splits in the game's story where your decisions determine the fate of characters and take you down different routes to the end of the game. There are also side stories to mix things up, along with a fair amount of lore to discover about the game's world. The variety of ships encountered throughout the adventure is impressive as well. The story is told over many years, and the characters will look much different at the end of the game than they do at the beginning. I'd say it's appropriately epic for a space opera. The DS hardware definitely limited aspects of production. The scenario of the game, its music, and voiceovers all had to be reined in to fit on the DS cartridge. When I first played Infinite Space, the first thing I thought of was Reiji Matsumoto's Captain Harlock from a purely aesthetic standpoint. While Captain Harlock was way before my time, it's probably one of Japan's most famous early space opera mangas, and definitely a pillar of Japanese anime towards the end of the 20th century. Neil Lachlan, in particular, immediately gave me Queen Emeraldus vibes when she was introduced in the game. Reiji Matsumoto's characters have a much more timeless, stoic nuance to them, but I love the more expressive characters in Infinite Space. While the game has a very anime coat of skin, the game's story and world have impressive depth as well for a DS game, and it's definitely the best part of the game in my opinion. What begins as a journey to leave a planet and go to space becomes much more. The game has its own vernacular of terms too, like Zero G Dog. I've always been interested in JRPGs that are also brand new IPs, but I think the audience for this game was very niche when the game first released. As much as I'd have loved to play it on TV, I don't think it would have necessarily sold better. To me, this game oozed passion for space opera anime and spaceships in its marketing. My bias, and I think many people's interest in the game and its aesthetics, would hinge largely on their interest in those things, and the game definitely delivers on those expectations. For anybody that doesn't care about those things, the story and ship customizability itself might garner interest for its depth if players are patient enough to work their way through it. The story splits are enough to encourage multiple playthroughs for players interested in seeing what happens with different decisions too. The game's battle system is pretty straightforward. It's not exactly a mindless system, but it doesn't evolve much even after new options open up. Your fleet just gets bigger and stronger as you hire new crew. A lot of battles become games of chicken, where you try to stay out of range of dangerous weapons or wait for enemies to make mistakes you can capitalize on with a barrage. The barrage and weapon animations that play are cool the first times you see them, but they can get old quick. The reviews for Infinite Space are all over the place, with people liking and disliking different things about the game, but the game was received generally well by its players. Personally, I love this game. It's obviously dated compared to today's standards. The Nintendo DS also held back its ambition and potential, but I'd love to see what Hifumi Kono and Atsushi Inaba could do on modern hardware if Sega ever funded a remake or even just a brand new game in this style. A part of me knows it just wouldn't be the same though unless they also got all the talent together that made the original game as well. Given all the different business entities involved in the production of the game, it doesn't seem feasible, but one can always dream, right? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.